close.
Right now at 6:30, a new perspective on the fight at the border. What Senator Chuck Schumer is pushing for to help reunite families.
Plus, summer's here. Now, what do you do with those kids? If you're out of ideas, we've got you covered.
And later, how this prehistoric looking fish at one time had the world beating a path to buffalo for all things. Caviar? Yeah.
Ooh.
It's another unknown story in Western New York.
From the station on your side, Channel 2 News Daybreak starts now.
Look at that, 6:30, starting out really nice for your Monday morning, 55 degrees, and just a few wispy clouds up there.
You said
beautiful.
Buffalo is known for its caviar?
Caviar.
Really?
Yes.
Would you line up some martinis and really get in the spirit of this?
I know. Did you bring some props with you? Some
Well, you're going to have to
samples?
stick around and find out.
All right. Unknown stories. I'm here for it.
All right, let's get to it, show you what we got going on. Good morning and welcome, Kate. Nice to have you this week as Melissa is off for a couple days. We've got clear skies and sunshine on the way. Temperatures very, very comfortable. We're in the 50s currently. It's 55. Not a cloud in sight. Well, there's a few, especially down in the southern tier. This is Salamanca, where you had a funnel cloud on Saturday. Go into our WGRZ.com. You'll see the video. It was really something. Saturday afternoon. There we go. The clouds and the rain from yesterday, long gone. Go figure. Now that it's Monday, the sun is here. Temperatures in the 50s. The dew points are down too, so it's very, very comfortable compared to kind of that sticky feeling we had over the weekend. Temperatures in the low 70s, but I do think we get into the mid 70s. A couple of spots there in between those hours posted. So it looks like a really nice day. We're going to talk storms and heat coming up. But first, here's Dave Cash with the look at the roads. Welcome to Monday, Dave.
Yeah, happy Monday. By the way, a week from today, I will be sleeping in. It will be my first full week off in 3.5 years, you guys. So no jokes about how frequently I'm on vacation, because it doesn't happen. Hey, starting tomorrow and continuing right through the summer, end of August, they're going to have Griswold Street closed between Graham Road and Chestnut Ridge Road in Royalton. Right now, an easy commute, 90 east past the Galleria Mall, light traffic volume, no accidents to report right now. On the right side of your screen, that's a 290 east at Sheridan Harlem. That's moving well to the 90 east-west split. Back to you, Pete and Kate.
Dave.
6:32 on Daybreak, and this week, Republicans plan to vote on an immigration bill as thousands of families remain separated at the border. New York Senator Chuck Schumer, who has argued against bills in Congress, is now calling on the president to appoint a czar at the border that would focus on reuniting children and families. Schumer says the situation is a mess and that there needs to be someone working across agencies to make sure no kids are left behind.
There are thousands of kids lost in limbo. There are thousands of parents waiting. Word is that the process could take a very long time, much longer than it should. And so we have to find a way to expedite the process, to move quickly and strongly. And that's what a czar would do. This is a good czar, not a bad czar.
Senator Schumer says he will support any legislation, but he thinks the White House doesn't need help from Congress to do it.
Well, back here in Western New York, town, county, and state leaders will meet to go over recent improvements on Niagara Falls Boulevard. The state DOT is working to make the boulevard safer. So far, they've improved sidewalks. They're checking crossing signals to make sure they're working. Today's meeting is at 11 o'clock.
6:33 on Daybreak, and this is a controversial story that's gotten a whole lot of attention online about an Orchard Park student at graduation. This is the post of Dylan Donovan, who the poster says was told to leave Orchard Park's graduation and couldn't walk on stage because he refused to take off his U.S. Marine Corps sash. Now, Dylan added in a post that has since been deleted that he got his diploma, but he chose to leave early because he wanted to wear the sash. Superintendent Matthew McGarity sent a letter to families that was also posted online. The letter said students aren't allowed to wear sashes nor cords, and the principal goes over expectations the week beforehand. And students entering the military, well, they're actually recognized at a ceremony with graduation as a group. He says he welcomes discussion about changing those practices.
Well, today, Buffalo's food community is coming together to honor late chef Anthony Bourdain. Today would have been his 62nd birthday. The TV host and chef took his own life earlier this month. From 6:30 to 9 at Kleinhand's tonight, a Cook's Tour fundraiser will be held. 18 local restaurants and breweries will be offering food and drinks, and all the proceeds from this will be donated to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Well, today marks the first full week that most kids are out of school. And that means, Mom and Dad, you're probably looking for creative ways to entertain the kiddos all day, every day.
Yes, you can't just leave them to their own devices. Daybreak Stephanie Barnes is live this morning. She is the Daybreak cruise director, so she's the perfect person to find something fun to do.
Thank you so much. I am honored for that title. Kate and Pete, good morning. Yeah, we're live at one of the 11 splash pads around Western New York here behind me. Been very tempted to run through it, but have not done so just yet. This is a great idea, though, one of many that I found over the weekend of ideas to keep the kids busy this summer. I found ideas that cost, ideas that don't cost, like this one. We're going to run through some of the educational activities that can keep your kids busy this summer. We're going to start with the New York Power Authority. You can design your own dam, operate a power grid during a storm, walk through a turbine, take a high-tech virtual ride, all of it happening daily between the hours of 9 and 5 in Lewiston, and it is completely free. There's also the Buffalo Museum of Science. They've got traveling exhibits throughout the summer, hands-on exhibits, 3D cinema, and by the way, the observatory is opening this summer. I'll be telling you more about that coming early July. Buffalo and Erie County Public Library is also a great free and air-conditioned option. Mayor Brown has his summer reading challenge out that might get the kids motivated and excited to read. There are also weekly events at different branches like reading to therapy dogs or Crafter Day on Saturdays. You can head to buffalolive.org for an extensive calendar there. Don't forget about the Buffalo Zoo, where you can learn about wildlife habitats, see all of the animals that we share this planet with. They've also got some gardens there, lots to see and hear and smell. They're open every day, rain or shine this summer. Also, the Explore and More Children's Museum in East Aurora. They've got programs and exhibits from multicultural education to art history and hands-on archaeological exploration. If you're a member there, it is free. Otherwise, kids and adults 1 and up pay $7 to get in. Now, this is just scraping the surface of all the things I saw out there to do in Western New York with your kids this summer, and we are continuing the conversation on Facebook and Twitter throughout the morning. I want to hear your ideas of what maybe you have brainstormed to take your kids to, or perhaps have already signed up for. So yeah, there you go. Just a quick list there. Head to our website, WGRZ.com, or Facebook and Twitter to continue the conversation. Pete and Kate, back to you.
And your location explains why Charles, your photographer, came in his swimsuit today. Got to get some video of him splashing around.
He's got his floaties on, too.
Perfect.
Good.
Safety first. No, there we go.
Nice.
Don't leave me hanging. Okay.
Thanks very much, Steph. All right, well, today the 31st annual Jim Kelly Football Camp returns to New Era Field. Hundreds of kids from around the country head to Orchard Park for the 4-day camp, and this morning we are expecting to hear from Jim Kelly himself just days after his second surgery in New York City. Doctors inserted 5 implants into Jim's new jawbone so they can give him some new teeth soon.
Well, hundreds of runners came together over the weekend to combat domestic violence and support its victims. The 5K walk in Lackawanna was dedicated to Ashley Mae Whiting, who was stabbed to death by her husband in 2015. Loved ones, friends, and supporters walked to honor Ashley and to make sure there's a focus on this issue.
The least reported crime in America, domestic violence, and the statistics are outrageous. So I really think that bringing awareness to it and celebrating the survivors and victims is really important.
And proceeds benefit the Haven House Shelter for Domestic Violence Victims and a Memorial Scholarship Fund.
And it was a record-breaking weekend for Roswell Park Cancer Institute as the Ride for Roswell raised $5.2 million. That is the most ever. Incredible. Over 7,000 cyclists competed in races ranging from 10 miles to 102 miles. Another 2,000 volunteers helped put the race on this year. Of course, Two on Your Side is a proud sponsor of that event. Patrick is up on the roof this morning and getting a bird's eye view on this morning's gorgeous weather.
Yeah, what's happening?
It's nothing. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much.
Great.
Do you remember, who was that comic? Lewis Black? And he did that bit about the weatherman in San Diego. Hey, Lou, what's the weather like? Nice.
And welcome back. It is 6:44. Buffalo has been known for many things: blizzards, Super Bowls, chicken wings. But this one may surprise you.
Yeah, how about caviar? Yeah, at one time we produced 10,000 pounds of caviar in a year.
What?
Yep, as we find out in this morning's Unknown Story, it's because of a fish that has been around since before the Ice Age. They look like swimming dinosaurs, and with good reason.
They've been around for over 100 million years.
You can follow their ancestors all the way back beyond the last ice age into the time when the Tyrannosaurus Rex and the other dinosaurs were walking around the area.
The sturgeon, while it looks intimidating, it's really a gentle giant. This one in the aquarium in Niagara is just about 5 feet long, but some varieties can grow up to 12 feet. Through history, they've even been mistaken for sea serpents.
Yeah, they evolved that long ago, and they haven't changed, so their body structure evolved to where it worked for them, and they have remained pretty much unchanged since that period of time.
The lake sturgeon has inhabited our waters since the last ice age, with the population booming in the late 1800s.
Historically, they used to be really abundant, so much so that the fishermen used to throw them on the shore because they would destroy their gill nets when they were fishing for herring in the Great Lakes, and they would throw them on shore. They would actually burn their bodies. They were that abundant.
And Buffalo was one of the most productive sturgeon fisheries in the world. In 1885, they pulled 3.6 million pounds from the outer harbor. And that abundance gave Buffalo another boom in its fast-moving development, one that you probably wouldn't expect. Buffalo was a major producer of caviar.
Correct. That was the biggest in the States at the time. That was due to the fact that the beluga sturgeon wasn't as available as used to be. That's a Russian species, so they switched over to the lake sturgeon for caviar.
Over the years, the sturgeon became overfished.
The population took a pretty good hit back in the late 1800s.
Rob Roth is a fish and wildlife technician with the New York DEC. He says the turnaround in the population on the Great Lakes began with the closing of the fisheries in 1976 and the placement of the lake sturgeon on the threatened species list in 1983.
So in terms of regulations, possession or targeting them by fishermen is prohibited.
He spent the past 2 years studying and maintaining the lake sturgeon population in these waters.
Yeah, they've come back on their own, and the bass guys that fish the wall, they're like, yeah, we're looking over the boat. There's all these sturgeon just swimming around underneath our boats,
That's here on Lake Erie. The Aquarium of Niagara is one of several agencies that are trying to help with the repopulation in other areas. They raise fingerlings like these and participate with the DEC in an annual release of young sturgeon in the Genesee River at Rochester.
These were hatched Oneida Hatchery. We keep them here until they get too large for our 200-gallon aquarium, and then we call up the DEC and we'll bring them to them. They'll release them and give us some smaller fingerlings.
Yeah, really interesting fish, and you can get up close and personal with them at the Aquarium in Niagara.
I don't know where you find this stuff, but I love it.
Caviar in Buffalo.
Did you bring some?
No, I didn't.
Buffalo.
Do you like caviar?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Next time.
I like it when you let the caviar grow into a full-grown fish and then fry it on Friday. That's how I like my caviar.
That's the Buffalo way.
That's right.
Well, it is 6:47 now. Let's get you started for the day. The man who admitted to killing another man at a family party will be sentenced in court today. 44-year-old Jeffrey Brown pleaded guilty to killing David Brown in July of 2016. Brown was recently charged on drug conspiracy charges and is facing a minimum of 17 years in prison at his sentencing today.
A Brooklyn man is in custody this morning after allegedly cutting off his pregnant wife's arm during a domestic dispute. Young Lou was arrested near One Welcome Center in Niagara Falls. Police say he had a life vest with him, and they believe he was trying to cross the border. He was extradited back to New York City, where he is being held by police this morning.
We are waiting to learn more about a crash that killed one person and hurt 4 others, including 2 children in the town of Brant. Erie County Sheriff's deputies say 2 cars crashed on Southwestern Boulevard yesterday. No names have been released in this yet, and we're still waiting to hear what caused that crash.
An Angola man is facing charges after a crash in Silver Creek over the weekend. The Chautauqua County Sheriff's Department says 42-year-old Jacob Faribault lost control of his motorcycle on Route 20 near Christie Street and crashed. Deputies haven't said what he's being charged with yet.
After an exciting NHL draft weekend for the Sabres, the team officially has Swedish defenseman Rasmus Dahlin. He was the first overall pick in the draft. He flew into Buffalo over the weekend and will be introduced at a press conference this morning at 10.
Excited for that. I'm also excited for this. After being closed for nearly 4 months, Panos on Elmwood will be reopening today. It closed back in February after 41 years after being sold to developer Chasen Affinity. A ribbon-cutting ceremony will be held at 8:30 this morning, followed by the restaurant opening at 9 o'clock.
And a historic gay bar on Delaware Avenue could soon be reopening. An official from the Housing and Urban Development said that HUD is working with the owners to reopen the underground. It closed in April because HUD didn't renew its lease over concerns from people who live in the building.
It is 6:49 now on Daybreak. Time to check in with Dave Cash and say good Monday. Welcome back. It is 6:56. Before we go, we can't leave without mentioning the World Cup. I've been watching it all weekend. It was an historic weekend for Panama. They lost big time, but they made history. They got their first goal in World Cup history. There it is. They lost the game 6-1 to England, but you know, Panama's now eliminated. Yeah, details. They're gone. They're eliminated, but they go home knowing they made history, and they did better than the U.S.
So they made it to the World Cup. Have they made it often to the World Cup? So they're a decent team if they made it to the World Cup. They just haven't scored a goal?
No, they made it. I think this was their first trip to the World Cup.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. So that was definitely their first goal, but it's been exciting. Even I've talked to non-soccer fans who've been watching it. I've been saying that they're getting wrapped up in it. So.
Right. And there just isn't a ton of scoring. You know, you go through a, 1-0.
Hello.
Well, just remember, you can go home a loser and still feel good about yourself. That's the real message.
I mean, come on,
Panama's on line one saying they had a lot of scoring yesterday. 6-1 final in a soccer game.
You know what I'm saying.
Oh, I do.
It's fine.
That's fine.